Factorizing, taking out the highest common factor. When I take out the highest common factor, it's just important to know first of all how to find the highest common factor. Now hopefully you know when I look at numbers, say for instance 12 and 18, I'm going to search for the biggest number that divides into 12 and 18, and that is my highest common factor. That would be 6. Right, 2 goes into 12 and 18, 3 goes into 12 and 18, but the biggest number that goes both into 12 and 18 is 6, and this is called my highest common factor. For instance, let's take another example. For instance, I have 24 and 36. I'm looking for the highest common factor. Then the highest common factor between these two things, although 2 and 4 and 6 and various things goes into both these numbers, the biggest number that goes into 24 and 36 both is 12. When I work with variables, it's nice to know that the highest common factor is always the lowest exponent. What I mean by that is that, say for instance I have x to the power of 3 and x to the power of 12. The highest common factor will be the lowest exponent. So if I look at these exponents 3 and 12, then this is the lowest exponent, so this term will be my highest common factor. And also with the lowest common multiple, the lowest common multiple of variables is the one with the highest exponent. It's just the other way around. The highest common factor has the lowest exponent, and the lowest common factor has the highest exponent. So when I work with more than one, say for instance I have x to the power of 3 y squared, x to the power of 18y, and x to the power of 4y to the power of 5, the highest common factor between these three would be as follows. I look at the x's and the y's separately. So between the x's, there's an exponent of 3, 18 and 4, so this is my lowest exponent. So for the x's, my highest common factor is x to the power of 3, and for the y's, my exponents are 2, if there's nothing, 1 and 5, so this 1 will be my lowest exponent, which is then just y. So that would be the highest common factor of these three terms, would be x to the power of 3y. Let's look at an example where I combine numbers and variables. Say for instance I have these three. Then I first look for the biggest number that divides into 2, 12 and 6. We're just going to write my highest common factor there. I hope it will fit in the screen. Alright, so the biggest number that divides into 2, 12 and 6 will be 2. The x's, my exponents, can you see, is 2, 1 and 1, so any one of these, but the lowest exponents of the x's is 1, which is then my highest common factor. And for the y's, carefully have a look at what happens here. This is an exponent of 1, this is an exponent of 2, and here where there's no y, this is an exponent of 0. So y to the power of 0, which is in fact 1, is then my highest common factor, which I don't need to write. And so the highest exponent of the highest common factor of these three terms are 2x. Let's look at one example, one last example of this, and then I'm going to move on to taking out the highest common factor. What would be great for you to do at this point is to pause the video and first see if you can find the highest common factor of these three terms, 12x to the power of 7y squared, 16xy, and 24y to the power of 18. See if you can find the highest common factor on your own, and then play the video again to see if you worked correctly. So the highest number that divides into 12, 16 and 24. Now I know 8 divides into 16 and 24, but it doesn't go into 12. So I'm going to go a little bit smaller, and I know 6 divides into 12 and 24, but it doesn't go into 16. So the highest number that divides into all three of these numbers would be 4. And for the x's, there is a power 7, a power 1 and a power 0. So the power 0 is my highest common factor. And for the y's, there's a power 2, a power 1 and a power 18. So the power 1, the lowest exponent, would be my highest common factor. So the highest common factor here is 4y. Just a quick note, if you are uncertain, I think the biggest number that goes into 12, 16 and 24 is 4, but if you're uncertain about that, you can always just go and list for yourself the factors. That's another method you can use of 12. Now 1 times 12 is 12, and 2 times 6 is 12, and 3 times 4 is 12. So the factors of 12 are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 and 12. 16, 1 times 16 is 12, 2 times 8 is 16, 1 times 16 is 16, 2 times 8 is 16, and 3 doesn't go in. 4 times 4, so the factors of 16 are 1, 2, 4, 8 and 16. And for 24, 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, 4 times 6, and 5 doesn't go in, and there's 6 already, so I'm done. The factors of 24 are these, and then I can go and see. I'm going to measure up to the factors of 12. So the biggest factor I can use for 12 is 12, but 12 is not a factor here, so I'm not going to use that. The second biggest one is 6. 6 is not a factor here. Then there's a number 4, which is a factor here, here and here, so it's common to all three of them, and that must be then the biggest common factor, or the highest common factor between these three numbers. Alright, so that is how I determine the highest common factor. Hopefully you feel comfortable finding the highest common factor now. And if you know how to find the highest common factor, it's not very difficult to take out the highest common factor. So let's look at an example. What I want to do is take out the highest common factor. Say for instance, out of x squared plus 6x minus 5xy. Right, so I'm going to find first the highest common factor here to take out, and the highest common factor that I take out I'm going to write here first. So of the numbers, the biggest number that divides into 1, 6 and 5 would be 1. Of the x's, the lowest exponent is the 1x, x to the power of 1. And of the y's, here and here, the lowest exponent is y to the power of 0. So my highest common factor is x, and then I'm going to take that out. Now when I say take that out, I'm actually dividing by x. So I divide every single term by x. Now x squared divided by x is x. 6x divided by x is 6. And 5xy divided by x is just 5y. So that's what's left in the brackets after I've taken out the x. Y divide is, if I reverse this procedure again, I'm supposed to get from this answer that thing, because I put an equal sign there. I'm saying that these two sentences mean the same thing, and you know that this means I'm multiplying, you know, the distributive law. So if I multiply this out, it's supposed to be the same as that sentence there. and you can quickly check for yourself. X times x gives me x squared. Because I took x squared divided by x to get x, that will work, because multiplication and division are opposite operations of one another. So x times x give me that x squared. X times 6 gives me the 6x, and x times 5y gives me the 5xy. Another method that you can use is by first writing this as products in terms of the highest common factor. So if I have this sentence, x squared plus 6x minus 5xy, this would be the baby step to start taking out the highest common factor if you still struggle a little bit with this. Now I can determine that my highest common factor here would be x. So I write every term as a product of x. This is x times x. This is 6 times x, or x times 6. And this is already written as a product 5 times x times y. And then can you see, if I take out an x from every one of these terms, and I go and write that on the side, what's left is then the x, the 6, and the minus 5y. And can you see that this is then the same? So I take out the x, and then what's left of the sentence I write in the brackets. This would be a first step to just get the hang of it. And then if you practice breaking it up like this a few times, you should get the hang of it and be able to do it straight away like this, much sooner than you think, if you just put some effort in. Alright, so let's look at another example. So I have, for instance, 2a squared b minus 4ab squared. I'm first going to find my highest common factor. Now the highest number that divides both into 2 and 4 is 2. The highest common factor of the a's, or the lowest exponent, which is a, and the lowest exponent of the b's is b. And then I'm left with, this is 2a squared b divided by 2ab, just leaving me with a, and 4ab squared divided by 2ab, leaving me with 2b. And you can go and break it up again like the previous example, and check if you get to the same answer if you prefer using that method. If you prefer using that method, I suggest you write down every question. You go and try your method if you use another one than mine, and then just play the video and see if you get to the same answer than I do, because there's always more than one method to do a thing. Right, so the biggest number that divides into 3, 6 and 9 is 3. The lowest exponents of the a's is a, and the lowest exponents of the b is b. So if I take 3ab divided by this one, 3ab divided by 3ab is 1. 6a squared b divided by 3ab is 2a. You see I divide the 6 with 3, giving me 2. The a squared divided by a, and the b divided by b is 1. That's what I do. And 9ab squared divided by 3ab is then 3b. Now I can, just to show you the other method with this one also, what happens is I determine the 3ab is going to be my common factor. I must do that step first anyways, and then I can write this as 3 times 2. I write it as a 3, a and a b. So I write the 6 as 3 times 2, the a as a times a and b, and then this I also write as 3 times 3, because I want to break up the 3, a and a b loose. So I break this up into 3 times 3, a, and then 2 separate b's, so I get 1 b separate. And then what's happening is I take out a 3, a b, a 3, a, a b, a 3, a b, which is the highest common factor, which I take out. And then can you see, if I take out all of the terms, I'm not left with 0. I just take this term and multiply in my head 1 times this term, then, or I break this up into 1 times 3, and this one goes there, because if I multiply anything by 0, I'm going to get 0, and I want this 3ab there. And then here I'm left with, can you see the 2a there and the 3b there. Right, so I'm going to give you 2 problems. What I want you to do with these problems is just write them down, pause the video, see if you can take out the highest common factor by any way that you see fit, and then play the video and check your answers. So the first problem is 12x squared y minus 4xy squared. So quickly write that down, and somewhere write down the second one also. 14x squared y to the power of 7 minus 21x y to the power of 12. Alright, so write that down. Do this on your own first, and then play the video and see if you get the same answers as me. So your answer should be 4xy, 3x minus y for this one, and for this one your answer should be 7xy to the power of 7, 2x minus 3y to the power of 5.